Action Focus, episode number 14, the show where we obsess about everything from geek culture to nerd news, along with random topics for discussion. I'm one of your hosts, Ben Gordon, alongside my brother, the illustrious Dan Gordon. Dan, how you doing?
I'm doing great, thanks.
Illustrious. And coming in live from the great state of Nebraska, the original swino of Omaha himself, Matt Swinehart. Hi, Matt.
Hello.
Did you watch the Oscars last night?
I did watch I watched part of the Oscars. I watched the whole snafu at the end.
Yeah, that was the first thing. I didn't watch them live, but then I heard all about that at the end, watched some of the clips, and then I actually watched the whole thing today, but that was actually, you know what's funny? It was handled so well. And when the people from La La Land gracefully said, no, you actually won it, I'm proud to hand this over to them, I actually think that made it even more memorable. The first African-American mainstream movie that made it, when you look back on this from decades to come, how it was done, I actually think, as weird as it sounds, I think it was a net positive because it was handled so well. I mean, it was a fuck-up, but it was still pretty cool.
Oh, yeah.
And then, did you watch any of the stuff that Kimmel did for Damon? You know how he gives Damon all...
I got the opening one. Yeah.
Well, he gives him shit all the time. Well, did you see when Ben Affleck and Matt Damon came up on stage to present an award, and as soon as Ben Affleck's done talking and Matt did, the orchestra started playing music like they were playing him off, like to shut up and be done. And then Matt Damon's like, are you playing me off? What are you doing? I'm presenting. And they pan down, they show Jimmy Kimmel directing the audience going, wrap it up. We all want to go home. It was freaking awesome. Anyway, I just thought that was cool. Didn't watch it live, but definitely memorable. Something I'm sure everybody's going to be talking around the water cooler the next few days, too. All right, should we jump into our topics, ladies and gentlemen?
That's what they're here for.
All right, cool.
I assume.
Unless there's any other tidbits that you want to throw out there, Matt, from Nebraska. Anything big happen out there we need to know about?
Still here.
Is there ever? It's Nebraska.
Win.
Oh, simmer down now.
All right, let's talk about our first topic. With Zelda and Horizon Zero Dawn coming out, let's see, Zelda comes out March 3rd. When is the actual date of Horizon Zero Dawn? Do you guys remember? It's the next few days, isn't it?
Yeah, it's
beginning of March.
Yeah.
Or maybe even like today or tomorrow. I'm not sure. But anyway, the reviews are starting to trickle out of it. They had initial impressions of Switch since people were starting to get their hands on Switch. They were embargoed, couldn't talk about the whole thing. But the reviews are starting to come out, and these games both are getting universally, except for a couple people that I think are just trying to get traffic to their websites, universally getting 9.5s and 10s. Like the best Zelda game, like the original open world of the original Legend of Zelda mixed with Ocarina of Time times 1,000 times bigger. Horizon Zero Dawn getting critically praised, not just being just one of the most gorgeous and beautiful games of all time, but just the open world nature. Plus, if you choose to just do the linearity, you can do that as well. But these games are getting, so now I just feel like you're hearing all over the place now, open world, open world, open world. I almost wonder if some people get saturated with that. But one of the reasons I wanted to talk about it is not just because I'm excited for these two games, but first of all, what's you guys' thought on, do we need more open world games? Do we need less? But more importantly, like, do we even need to start classifying this stuff as open world anymore? Because, I mean, can you imagine 20 years from now, maybe you're playing a game like an Oculus Rift or on your console or whatever, don't you kind of have the expectations when you jump into a game that you can just do about anything, or it's becoming more commonplace for that? I mean, from Fallout to The Witcher to everything else, is this going to remain a genre by itself, or is it just basically eventually in the future, most games, other than, you know, puzzle games or stuff that don't warrant that kind of gameplay, isn't that just going to be kind of a given, or is this something you think that's going to be restricted?
It's less than a genre and more just an accepted mechanic now. I mean, we've kind of moved well beyond like the whole side scroller from days of old, and,
right.
And now, like, you know, the incorporating just into a game where you're not just on a very, very strict path is, for most AAA titles, that's really not the case. Now, how far you're able to venture, that's kind of where people are, you know, you can kind of say, well, is it really open world versus just there's a little exploratory nature to it.
That's actually a good point. I guess it kind of gets to be subjective. What do you consider open world? Because Uncharted, you wouldn't really consider open world. You can't go anywhere, but
there's enough maneuverability around where
sometimes in cities.
Yeah, it's not open world though.
Well, that's what I mean.
Uncharted wouldn't be. Mm-hmm. It is kind of linear. I mean, it's pushing you through a story. It's not like I can go back,
right,
and Uncharted and see where I was before or explore the area where I was before more.
You could replay levels, but you're right, that's not the same thing. Yeah.
It's Uncharted to me falls in that same line as like Resident Evil 4.
Yeah, I was just
there's a story driving it.
Analogy.
Great example.
Uh-huh. do you guys get open world fatigue? I mean, here's one of the benefits with open world, obviously, is that nature of exploration, that you can do anything that you want to do. You're excited, like the fact that, and I know that this gets tossed around all over the place, but when they talk about the new Zelda and you see that mountain, you're like, man, you can go up there. That thing way up in the distance, like you can go up there anytime you want to. But when people have, where they can basically do anything, how do you still, well, I mean, obviously they have, but take The Witcher or Fallout. How far did you even get into The Witcher? With the story.
I think I got through maybe like a chapter and a half.
What about Fallout?
Not even.
What's the last open world game that you played?
Borderlands.
Okay. Yeah, that's open world, isn't it?
If you'd classify that. I mean, it's mission-based open world.
Uh-huh.
I mean, because you can go anywhere. I mean, you can go all the way back to the beginning.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah.
I think this comes down to the subjectivity of what you classify as open world and how much you do. But like with all this
That
stuff,
one was a well-structured open world game, though.
Yeah.
Because the missions drove you to new areas and new things, but like a game like Skyrim, where once you get out of the dungeon or whatever, you're just in open country.
Mm-hmm.
And you can go to the wrong place, you can go to the right place, or you can just go nowhere for a really long time.
Yeah. Do you think that we're going to eventually have a division of sex of people that, and I don't mean sex, S-E-X, like S-E-C-T-S, okay?
Division sex.
A division.
It's the
Sex.
nastiest sex.
Topic number 2. Well, I tend to find that you see people that usually kind of pick one or the other for the most part, right? When you have an open world game, you can either choose to go down the story, or you can do a whole bunch of the open. I mean, technically you could do anything, but don't you find people tend to choose to do usually one or the other?
Yeah. I mean, and I think like a lot of the open world games, that is supposed to be the appeal. I mean, that's why you have like, the MMOs. That's why you have like your Fallout and your Skyrims and your things like. They're based around the fact that we want you to kind of go out
and you have more options.
Exactly. So of course they have the story element is great because you actually have drive to.
Right.
Why am I even here? Why am I even playing? Whereas. I tried cracking open No Man's Sky.
You liked that actually, didn't you?
It was okay, but and I'm looking at the guy that just gave it to me for Christmas.
You got it as a gag gift, but you actually liked it more than you thought you'd like it.
Well, no. It was.
You played it a bunch.
Well, just to kind of get the grind out. I'm like, I grind like hell.
Yeah.
I can. I mean, that game I just could not get into. There's too little there. I mean,
the reward isn't very good for.
It's just way too basic. I mean, there's just nothing. There still has to be some kind of engaging element in there.
There really isn't much of a narrative at all in the story.
If there was, I have not found it.
Right. Yeah.
I walked around. There was a dude sitting in a pod somewhere once.
Yeah.
No story, no drive. Just go out, mine some stuff, scan a few animals, sell, get money, buy a bigger ship, rinse and repeat. It's very
with no point, it's kind of like
I mean, even with Eve.
I thought Eve was like that. Yeah.
Yeah, but
I was just saying that.
A little bit more. There was more to it than I remember even mining in Eve was more fun than mining in.
Isn't Eve have a stronger sense of collaboration with other actual people out there, where you guys do stuff together and create empires? At least there's a causality behind that encourages you to do this stuff, because when you get back online, you're talking to your 4 friends and your coalition or whatever group you're making for dominance. I mean, there's a purpose behind it, even if there isn't a narrative.
But there's still there's more element. That game that's got a little bit more polish.
Right.
There's just more to it. There's more meat to it than just.
There's contacts and bounties and.
There's.
I mean, there's tons of stuff.
Different allegiances, different kinds of. Just the economy itself is almost its own game.
Yeah.
Well, you guys might not be aware, but there's some negative people on the internet. And it's so funny because when some people talk about these open world games, they're kind of like, well, if you don't do what I'm doing the way I'm doing it for the reasons I'm doing it, then you're stupid, you're wrong. Like, the story's all that matter. Oh, fuck the story. What's important is all the little quests you're doing out there. Oh, you're spending all that time, you're missing on the story. I think that's one of the benefits of this open world dynamic that's grown to such a high level of proliferation is, like you said, you have your choice. You might love doing all the open world, just adventuring all the time. Don't get me wrong, with something like Zelda, I probably would too. I'd want to go everywhere and exploit. But I tend to like the more linear stuff. Yeah. I like the Legend of Zelda Twilight Princess more than I would get into, say, The Witcher. Maybe that's a very extreme example because that game is so dense. You could go down the the beaten path and go into just the side quests, and you would be stuck there for years.
Your man ages 20 years.
Yeah.
Real time.
If you have any OCD, that game will consume you in probably the worst way. I don't know. I just thought this was kind of interesting because you see so many games kind of adopt this thing. You almost like, well, when we played the original Legend of Zelda, I guess you think of it being open world that you can go and do anything you want, but I didn't really classify it as this big genre movement or, oh, that's one of those. You're just like, no, it's a game. You adventure, you can go anywhere. But now this labeling, it just kind of makes me wonder if this is going to get to the point where we don't even consider a game open world. We're like, well, yeah, that's just kind of the norm.
Yeah, well, I think Matt made a good point is that there's some level of flexibility you can add as far as maneuvering through game areas.
Right.
But it's almost like you kind of know it when you see it. When you cross into that threshold of, right, now this is an open world game.
Mm-hmm.
Like I remember playing like the original GTA, like the overhead view, completely different from the actual GTA, which we know is like kind of the open world game, one that really cracked open that feature.
Yeah, that was kind of the first big major one. Yeah, GTA 3.
Yeah,
that was the first big. That's funny, that phrase, because that makes me think, what was that argument for someone or when they were talking to Congress or something, like, well, I don't know how to define pornography, but I know it when I see it.
Supreme Court. I know 3D open world when I see it. And you, sir.
Well, I mean, I think back. What Myst was probably open world in a way.
See, this was what
there was nobody telling you what the story was.
I agree with your point of view, and some people would argue, yeah, but that's different than. I agree, but you could classify that as open world because you can go there and do anything. Did you ever finally play that?
There's nothing driving you.
Well, he played it.
I need to get it for the computer.
We did that show games that we haven't
I thought you
gotten
played
around
it. You just never finished it.
I've played it. I never finished it.
Oh, okay. Okay. Yeah. That's cool. All right. Well, I just thought that was something worth talking about. Are you guys excited? Again, I have no desire to get a Switch in the interim, especially when Zelda's the only game out there. But with all this stuff that's starting to come out, and they haven't talked about any of the story yet. None of the major dungeons, none of the towns, none of that stuff. And I kind of don't want to. I'm like going to be avoiding the internet like the plague until I finally get around to get one of these, because that Zelda game looks awesome, and every reviewer and pre-reviewer, whatever you want to call it's out there, all say the same thing. This is amazing. This is a Zelda game we're going to be talking about for decades. That's as big of a landmark as Ocarina of Time was. I'm jacked for that. What have you guys seen more of the footage that's come out lately, obviously on all the gaming sites for Horizon Zero Dawn? Because that looks...
I would assume it's more excellence.
Yeah, but everybody's saying, like, for instance, take The Witcher. Gorgeous. Gameplay, some people liked it, some people didn't. Some people felt it was a little too stiff, but it was wide open. You can go anywhere. Probably a little too dense in the content area, but I think better to err on that side. Compare that to, like, Fallout, where Fallout was big and open, and that game sold well, maybe not as well as they wanted it to, but... you know, graphically, after The Witcher 3 came out, and then you look at Fallout, you're like, ooh, is this even PS3 quality? Yeah. Like, what the hell is this?
Some very, just latex face.
Yeah, I mean, it was, but Horizon...
Where is my son?
Yeah. Well, that, the texture, I mean, just all of it looked, the animation was a little bit, but I think that's usually one of the trade-offs Bethesda's always done when it comes to open world versus let's polish everything. And they got away with that with Fallout 3 being the first big game that deviated from the normal beaten path of the games they've made before. But after Witcher came out, you had to think at the last few months of production for Fallout 4, when they saw The Witcher 3, everyone's like slapping their foreheads, well, fuck, now what do we do? Because they can't use that as an excuse again. And now with the Horizon Zero Dawn coming out and everybody... talking about just how, like, you could, and there's an awesome camera mode that a lot of people are actually using because it's really quick and easy, and taking these gorgeous shots of these landscapes, and they're like, just about every second you play this game is just so luscious and gorgeous. Clean. The controls are really tight. It's fun to play. The story's really engaging. This is very creative and new. I mean, who would have thought, hey, what if we have a whole bunch of technically advanced dinosaurs and machines, and we're back in the Stone Age, and how does this work? This is going to be a huge, obviously, franchise that they're going to push forward. But, man, when it comes to open-world games and polish, I think that we're kind of at a nexus of awesomeness right now. We might not see
it is,
for a while.
But we're also creeping into that whole, got to be careful, you know, to still got to rein it in a little bit. You know, don't want too much.
Yeah, well, you know what's funny? Well, Tim Geddes at Kind of Funny was actually saying he's more like me, like loves the linear. And he does not like open world games at all. He hates that you can go out and do all this other stuff. He wants the story, next step by step. And so the first, I don't know, while that he was playing it, he was actually saying, well, I don't like this. I know I can go up in that mountain. I don't really want to. But as soon as he started just sticking to the story beats, he goes, the fact that you can, if you choose to, play this like an Uncharted game, now he absolutely loves it. So this really is appealing to, you know, obviously a diverse group of people that like open world games for different reasons. But this is cool. I was just curious on you guys' thought on that.